Hi all, let's have a look at the FIDE World Chess Championship match round 10. So this is played on the 7th of December 2024. So Ding Liren is with the white pieces against Gukesh with the black pieces. We see d4 from Ding Liren, knight f6, knight f3. We see d5. And now the Torre attack would be bishop g5. That would be a surprise weapon, which doesn't have too much of a theoretical overhead. But we have instead the London system, bishop f4. So with this move order for the London system. And I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about The Art of War. This is a must-read book, in my view, for all chess players, The Art of War, Sun Tzu. Because he talks about how you win battles. And it's about competitive resources. How do you compete with a competitor? So it's also, taken up by businesses as a kind of great business book as well. But yeah, for chess, it's an ideal book, in my view. So I would say this is The Art of War. If Ding Liren can step towards the rapid tie breaks, he will have the advantage. By most accounts, Ding Liren has a stronger chess intuition. He's more experienced as a player. So the rapid tie breaks, I believe, personally, would be in his favour. So if he can just draw this game with minimal possibility of stepping into big holes as part of the opening, then he's getting one step closer to a battleground, like in The Art of War, which favours him. It's like, know your battleground, know yourself, know your opponent. If you know your own strengths and weaknesses and the strengths and weaknesses of the opponent, and a lot of other information as well, like the nature of the battleground, then you're well equipped to win more battles than you lose in general. And this was also an approach that Magnus Carlsen used against Fabiano Caruana. So, yeah, the best have used this approach just to get to the tie breaks. Draws just get one step closer. And, yeah, players online, dominate with the London system anyway. On Bullet, it's like a way of just playing a solid opening. Play the London system as white, the Caracan as black, and you have your repertoire sorted for most cases. Instead of spending endless weekends trying to memorize theoretical sharp opening theory, which might never turn up, there are good shows on Netflix. I'm watching a good show at the moment called The Resident. It's a very exciting show. There are lots of exciting shows on Netflix. Why are lots of people wasting their time memorizing opening theory when you have systems like this, or the Caracan with black? So there's that argument. Some coaches will say, oh, you can't play this because you don't get an exposure into different pawn structures. Well, actually you can vary. You don't have to always set up the triangle by default. It can be nuanced. There can be a nuanced approach. Check out my London system course. So that's ideal for the lazy, and it works even at World Championship level. One of the reasons Magnus Carlsen didn't want to carry on competing at this level was the endless preparation. But maybe he could take a leaf out of Ding Liren's book and just play the London system, which he himself helped popularize in any case, and just super solid systems basically, which are unlikely to have deep holes to fall into where you're significantly worse out of the opening. So okay, I would say this is all The Art of War basically. So e6, we have e3, c5, bishop e2, bishop d6, d takes c5. So here we have bishop takes c5. If bishop takes f4, white does seem to get a decent enough position after check c3. Even though we've got double pawns, this position is just even. But when I say equal, actually there is a tiny edge for white overall, according to modern engines at least. So bishop takes c5, we have c4. So that opportunity to double white's pawns bypassed. c4. If white had castled, as you can expect, nothing too exciting behind the scenes here. If white just castles, we can go into bishop g5, f6, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3. This is just an even position, although black might have more difficulties later with these weaknesses. So c4, and both sides castle, knight c6, knight c3. We have d takes c4. If a6, it does seem as though this is more in white's favour after knight e5, and there would be a standard positional plan here, which is to transform black's structure into something more exploitable. How would you do that for 100 points? This is a good positional method to be aware of. even though the opponent's got an isolated queen's pawn, can we actually exploit that? Not really. It's where our pieces are placed in relation to that structural weakness, when in fact we have this semi-open c-file. So actually transforming the structure with knight takes c6 to give black hanging pawns instead means actually we've got a rook available to make use of that c5 square. So with this position, we get a small positional advantage, for example, locking down the c5 square. And if knight takes e5, bishop takes e5, bishop e6, we can gang up on d5 like this. And say bishop d6, we are doing slightly better here. We've got an ideal blockade square on d4 here. It's a small edge for white, a small advantage. So anyway, d takes, and you can see that it's actually left a symmetrical pawn structure on both sides. So this is a signal this isn't going to be a dramatically imbalanced game, which is quite, typical of World Championship matches. But yeah, a6 is no good as an example. So d takes is much safer. So structurally, there isn't an issue, whether it's isolated queen's pawn or hanging pawns. It's not an issue for black, the pawn structure. The one issue sometimes is this c8 bishop. We have knight h5. If the queens come off, this does seem very dull, but knight d2, in fact, for some reason, we do have a small edge. Yeah, I would say the reason is this d7 bishop. Actually, we are threatening knight takes f6 and taking. We do have pressure on d6 here from this bishop. So we have a small edge here. So this taking does actually help white. Often to take often helps the opponent, and it does here. This would help us a little bit. So this would be a key maneuver, knight d2 here, to go into e4. So anyway, knight h5 is played. We have bishop g5. If bishop, now here bishop e7 was played, welcoming simplification. If f6, we can drop the bishop back. And actually queen takes d1 would be useful here because g5 would be the follow-up. But then g4 actually gives white a small edge here. If black has played g5 immediately in this position, that's a mistake here. Can you see why? For 100 points. Yeah, there's an unprotected piece we can leverage. When there are things to leverage in the opponent's position, like unprotected pieces, we don't always have to follow the opponent's threats. And there's a cunning move here, knight d2. After g takes, we play queen takes, and you might think, oh, what about the d2 knight? But then we take on c5, and we've got a nice advantage. Black's pawn structure is a bit of a mess, and we can pick up h4 to protect the bishop. That's an advantage for white. So here, so queen takes d1 actually turns out to be more accurate than g5. But even so, as long as we don't play bishop g3 here, this would just be even. As long as we don't play that and play g4, we do get advantage in this case. And we've even got things potentially like king h1 for rook g1, potentially. I've got to factor in this diagonal. Or king f1 to e2 and use the g file. Maybe that's safer because black could use that diagonal maybe. But this is a small edge for white. So anyway, bishop e7 was played. We have knight e4, knight f6. And now this is mass simplification, which, this game is not necessarily to serve the entertainment of spectators. So you may have noticed I've actually scheduled a lot of Mikhail Tal games, and I might schedule a lot more in the new year as well, because Tal is really like an entertaining player, dynamic player, taking risks, creating complexity. This is not about creating complexity. This kind of game is definitely not. For me, it's about reaching the tie breaks. It's reaching a battleground which favours Ding Liren. This is Art of War stuff, which is not usually for the entertainment of spectators. So we have knight takes f6, check, bishop takes, queen takes d8, rook takes. In Tal games, remember, a lot of Tal games, he's trying to avoid the queens coming off. Here, it doesn't matter. Bishop takes, it doesn't matter about the double pawns. This is a kind of completely non-exploitable weakness in this position, all the isolated pawn. We haven't got the pieces left to exploit anything like that right now. So rook fd1, bishop d7, rook a to c1, bishop e8, more simplification. So yes, king f1, the king's coming to the centre. That's a good principle in general towards the end games. The king should be more powerful. So f5, we have king e1, and less prone to being checkmated, of course. Bishop e2. So this has been called a non-game by many spectators. It's understandable. And before this video, I'm working on a course actually in a tactical field on combinations. I'll check out Carlos Torrepeto. You might have known him from the Back Row Mate Classic, but he's played a number of brilliant combinations. So there might be combinations you haven't seen before. Go to chessgames.com, check out your iconic tactical players, look at the featured games, and you'll find some brilliant combinations if you want entertainment. You don't come to a World Championship match for entertainment. This is actually professional chess. Ding Liren is trying to reach the tie breaks. This has worked like a treat. But yeah, so let's go on. Knight e7, g3, rook c8. The rooks come off. We have knight d2, knight d6, and now another set of exchanges. So there's not even opposite colour bishops. Mind you, opposite colour bishops were even duller than this. So, okay, we have the same colour bishops. f4, okay, b6, king d2, king e7, king c3, king d6, b4, f6, king d4, h6, bishop b3, bishop b7, bishop c4, bishop c6, bishop b3, and we're having a draw by repetition. So as I say, yeah, check out Carlos Toro Pato. He's actually got this brilliant game against his coach Adams, as well as the one you may have seen, the Back Row Mate Classic. Combinations are the spice of chess, the heart of chess, as Chernow has called them. So yeah, I love tactics and combinations. This is a World Championship match game which is not as dramatic as many of the others. There has been some drama, but this was not it. I would say this is more about the art of war, one step closer to those tie breaks, that battleground, which I believe would favour Ding Liren more. He has more experience, a stronger intuition. Do you think Ding Liren's intuition is stronger? I think it is overall. Okay. And yeah, okay, so I hope you got something from this commentary, especially if you're a practical player, if you do play online. The case for solid, reliable openings is being made at the World Championship level. So maybe sometimes we shouldn't be ashamed to play them ourselves. Okay, I hope you check out my World Championship playlist, kingscrusher.tv/W C 2024. My chess courses at kingscrusher.tv, including a London system course. Yeah, okay, for the lazy, London system course. Okay, and yeah, just leave any comment you like. Hi there, how you felt this game was. What do you think about The Art of War? Have you read The Art of War? Okay, thanks very much.